Welcome back to episode 62 of Pull Up with Miles and Owen. It has been a minute. It has been a while. I apologize. I will take the L on this one. I've just been super busy with work, so Owen has been graciously and patiently waiting. But we're back, and we are back with our first ever three-time guest. Some would say our favorite guest, based on the fact that it's three times now. Uh, she is a WNBA analyst with the Connecticut Sun. She is the sideline reporter there, and she is the co-host of Levels to This, a podcast with Cheryl Swoops. Welcome back to Terrika Foster-Brasby, best friend of the show.
Best friend, best friend. So everyone else who comes on the show, know your place. You may
And,
be a friend. I am the best friend.
and just let it be known too that we're having tea on the podcast as the Tigers have the best record in the American League. So like we're not ducking any smoke here. All right. Like we're facing the music. Let it
Yes,
be
but I gotta see. I believe that the Dodgers actually lost this past weekend. I think they lost yesterday. So that now means that the Tigers have now regained control of the best record in baseball. I just want to throw that out there, just so we're clear,
Oh, it's been cold for us Yankee fans recently. The Yankees have been awful. We were battling up there for a minute. But also this is the only way that Terrika can see Owen's face is on this podcast.
That is it. That is it. I need your audience to know this timeline, okay? I have been to New York 3 times. I have seen Owen once. And that was at least like 5 months ago. Okay. That's how long it's been since
Yeah.
I've seen Owen. I was starting to think that Owen just really hated me and just didn't want to say anything. Like, if you hate me, Owen, just say that.
It couldn't be farther from the truth, but I this was another reason why we had to have you on is I can't duck the smoke. It's just I have to be better. I'm going to use all the athlete cliches here. I could say, yeah, sure, I had a moving job at $100 degree heat. Nope, it's like, you know what? I just need to lock in, and I'm gonna be better from here on out. I
Yeah.
promise you that. Will I be at All Star? No, tragically.
Yeah. Starting
So-
after starting after All-Star.
but you know what? B. Terrell's really given me a lot of outs because he's been a little fake too recently. So it's
Yes.
like I'm not the only one, that's been like this. So
This is true. This is true. All of you guys are on the list of y'all got a lot of making up to do.
yeah, working on it.
Yeah. We are keeping attendance, and right now you are failing the class. I'm just putting that out there for the 2025 season. But let's start with All-Star because that is coming up next week in Indy. Cheryl and you did just a podcast where you guys drafted, which was a lot of fun. But All-Star is always my favorite. It's always my favorite event of
Yeah.
the WNBA season. And it's just because it's the one time that people are not competitive, that everyone is there to celebrate and should be celebrating their accomplishments. So players can cut loose a bit, media can cut loose a little bit. It's great for networking, but it's
Yeah.
also just great for fans. So there's been some discourse about how heavy the fans are, I think, in picking that starting group.
Yeah.
Because it's 50% fan vote, 25% media, 25% players, and then the
Yeah.
reserve there are coaches. So where do you land? What would be a better system? Because I feel like on one hand, this is an event for the fans. It's an exhibition for the fans, so they should be able to see their favorites. But it starts to get a little bit murky when there's incentives, financial incentives tied into all-star appearances, career accolades, right? Like there's just so much that goes into that too. So
Yeah.
where do you think a balance can be struck?
I don't know if a balance really can be struck. And that's why I really think the league and everyone else has to really define what they actually want All Star to be. If they want All Star to be for the fans, then literally take the media and the fan and the player vote out of it. Let it just 100% be the fans. Let the events that happen at All Star be specifically geared towards the fans. Like, we still will have fun as media members, we'll still have fun. The players will still find things for them to do to be awesome. But if it is specifically going to be for fans, then give full autonomy to the fans to enjoy. If we're going to continue to add financial incentives, if we're going to, continue to put the credibility behind how many times a person has been an all-star and what that means as them or for them being a player, then I think we need to maybe minimize the fan percentage just a bit, and increase the media and player percentage. And I think that is a way to kind of balance what we actually want this to be, because everyone's voting for something different. Fans are going to vote based on who their favorites are. I use this analogy all the time. I'm an NBA girl, and I loved Carmelo Anthony, but there was a good 2 seasons where Melo didn't play for like 7 months. And Melo was an all-star. And I was like, bro, why are we voting for Melo? Like, for real, he's not going to play. And the whole point was, well, vote for him so that he gets the accolades, vote for him so that he gets the nod, but that he's not going to actually play in the game. But then I felt like, well, what's the point of that? The whole point of me wanting to vote for you as a fan is because I want to see you play. I think the same could be said for maybe a Jonquel Jones this year, right? Like, when she was playing, she had all-star type numbers, but because she missed so much time, there were maybe those who decided not to vote for her. So then it becomes, well, should she have just gotten the accolade or just gotten, the accomplished men of having this however many time all-stars for her? Like, we really need to define what we want this game to actually be before we can actually settle on how we select who the all-stars are and who has the autonomy to do that.
To that end, Clayton Kershaw should not be an all-star this year in baseball.
God,
a lot. And he's like Rod Manfred's special all-star liaison, whatever. I don't know what he's called.
All I'm saying is, if Tarek Skubal is not starting for the American League, I will riot in Atlanta.
This is just us soft launching our dream baseball podcast.
Yeah.
Like, we're like pretending to do a WNBA podcast right now. There's gonna be like, you're gonna have to drink every time we bring up Major League Baseball, because it's gonna happen 5 more times. By the way, I fact checked, and of course Terrika is correct. The Detroit Tigers have the best record in all of baseball, but I think two games clear of anyone else. So
out tomorrow, will still be true.
Yeah, you've got to push it.
We got to sweep. We sweep this weekend over the Guardians, and that did it for us. There we go.
Boom. Meanwhile, the Yankees have lost 6 of their last 7. Okay. Anyhow, back to the WNBA. Who's someone, because a lot of the conversation after the names are announced, and especially the reserves, is like, oh, who got snubbed, who blah, blah, blah. And like, we all have opinions about maybe who should have made it over someone else. But to me, it's like, I want to reframe, and this is a classic Grandpa Owen take here, but I want to reframe and just like be positive for a second. Who are some people who are playing in this game who you've really enjoyed watching this season? And it could be in Asia Wilson, it could be like a big name, or it could be someone who's flying under the radar.
Well, I think we know, like, I kind of had this conversation where I thought that it was really dope to see how we've evolved and how the talent pool has evolved, because rather than like snubs, I think it's also something to be said for people who we typically see in an all-star game and they didn't make it this year, not necessarily because they should have and didn't make it, but just because they didn't really have all-star numbers. For example, Arike Ngumbuale is somebody who we always see in an all-star game. This year, not so much. Brittany Griner been in an all-star game every year my whole life, it feels like. And this year, like, she didn't make it. So I just think that speaks to the evolution of the talent that's in the W now, that more stars are starting to evolve and mature. I love that Kiki and Sonia made the all-star team, although I do totally understand the gripe that fans have about Brittany Sykes not making it. I think Brittany Sykes deserved to be an all-star. So I understand that. I thought Brianna Jones should have been an all-star. However, to see Alicia Gray not only just be an all-star, but be a starter, like, Alicia has really been this good forever. And it's so good that she's finally getting a chance to, like, people are finally recognizing and actually like recognizing like how good she's been. So seeing her and Ryan in an all-star together, that's going to be really dope. So I love seeing that. Paige, girl, like, yes, I am a fan, and I absolutely love that you are going to be representing again, holding it down for the rookies. She's been so good. Even though Dallas has had its fair share of ups and downs, she's been the one consistent piece on both ends, like defense and offensively. So So I'm really excited to see them. And then I gotta show some love to KT.
Yes. Shout out.
Kayla Thornton.
As we're in Barclays, that just feels right.
Oh my God, isn't it the best? Because again, as we talk about evolution, KT's been good, but because she's played in a Liberty system that is overshadowed with stars between Sab and JJ and Stewie, and even this year, you could say Natasha Cloud, because she's a star in her own right, she's a champion in her own right. This was such a great opportunity for Kayla to be able to go to a team that she could make her own, have her own identity, her own presence, and really put up all-star type numbers in this season. I'm so happy for her. I said I can't wait to see her at All-Star to tell her how proud I am of her. So I think those are just some people who I'm like really happy to see get some shine.
I love that entire list. And the one name I want to add to it, just because you called out four of the 5 first-time All-Stars, is Gabby Williams.
Yes.
Gabby making that game too. Anytime you can see, and yeah, like you talked about BG not being there or Enrique not being there, or also Diana Taurasi's spot opening up. So like there was some turnover, but 5 first-time All-Stars is just so much fun. And in the spirit of staying positive, we often talk about what has been lacking in Kathy Engelbert's tenure, but one of my favorite things is that we get an annual All-Star game. And that was not true historically. Last year, that was big with having the Olympics, but still having the All-Star game, because at the end of careers, when, Sue Bird has not made an All-Star team every year because they just didn't have 4 or 5 of them over the course of her 2-decade career.
Yeah.
I think like fans that are just coming in now don't necessarily understand that this was not always the norm. So I'm just excited to kind of get out there, celebrate, and really just celebrate the growth of the game as a whole.
Yeah.
It's also cool too, because like some of the players that we just mentioned, Gabby Williams, Alicia Gray, Kayla Thornton, these are all players who, like, traditionally we think about the All-Star game as a game that rewards individual performance statistics. Like Arike is a perfect example of someone who is going to score 30 points on any given night. But what's so cool, and like that has so much value. Those players are always going to be highlighted in the All-Star game. But what's so cool about this group of players to me is that Gabby Williams, Kayla Thornton, Alicia Gray, these are players who have always been pigeonholed into role player type of, reputation. And it's like, number one, role players make up what basketball is. Like, you win titles with players like that. And then number two, it's like they're more than that. We just had Seattle in here on Sunday, and Noelle Quinn is talking about how the reason Gabby Williams is an all-star this year is because she's just had a full season to play in Seattle, and she's looking for her shot a little bit more, and she's doing everything that they need them to do. Kayla Thornton has always been that type of player. Alicia Gray, as you said, has always been that type of player, just never gotten that recognition. So it's really cool to see these players on that platform this year getting recognized for being so great.
And I want to quickly add on that. Like, that's what is probably my favorite component of going to Athletes Unlimited or going to Unrivaled is like, AU a couple of years ago, we were out there, we saw Nalissa drop 40 in a game. And you could just see like Veronica Burton was going off down there, and then how that just carries into her career. And we've seen that climb and climb and climb from VB or down in Unrivaled, just the connections that we saw these players make with one another. And now it's just love everywhere. And we're seeing people at every game rocking like different. I mean, I was wearing a vinyl hoodie the other night, but like there were fans side by side that you pointed out that were both wearing the same. It wasn't Rose.
Yes, so we had it was Sparks Liberty this past Thursday night, and we had someone in a number 5 missed jersey, Rakia Jackson, and then someone sitting right next to them in a number 5 vinyl jersey, Dearica Hamby. So you've got these two players on the Sparks, Dearica and Rakia, and people rocking their Unrivaled jerseys. It's just like, that
is so cool. I will also say to this, which might unofficially be a transition, but it maybe not. But I think expansion also plays a huge role in what we're going to see as it relates to all-stars in the future. Because as we started this conversation, folks are going to vote for their fan favorites. What expansion has done this year, specifically, I think in the case of Kayla Thornton, is not only have we been able to see her expand and just play because she's like, it's a team for her to own, but now there's an entirely group of people, an entirely different fan base now that we have opened up to actually have a stake in participating in the All-Star game. Like before, while they may have been fans, and sure, I'm probably sure they may have had their favorite players, it's totally different when you're now voting for a player that represents the city and the team that is within your specific geographical location. So now you've opened up an opportunity for more fans to have more favorites in different places, which will grant players like a Kayla Thornton or, you know, a Veronica Burton at some point in time, because she has always been phenomenal in the roles that she's had. But I just think like expansion actually opens up an opportunity for more people to become involved in the voting process, because you saw the numbers. Like this year, the numbers were blown out of the water. Caitlin had 1.3 million votes, and the fee had like 1.1 million votes. Like it was just statistically the highest voting turnout that they had in a WNBA All-Star fan vote. So I think the expansion plays a role in that for sure.
Yeah, and I think we're also going to see a further trend of a lot of like first timers through that because of that excitement. But it's going to be really hard for like some of your vet faves. That's gonna happen more and more, that they're going to fall off the ballot because there are
Yeah.
22 spots. It's 11 on 11, and when you've got 18 teams by 2030, all of a sudden you're not going to have three all-stars, four all-stars from a single team, which is going to make Cheryl
Yeah.
Reeve happy, if nobody else, is that they'll have their
That
all-stars
might be
from
their
there.
first test. Who knows? We might actually get a chance to see the first test of roster expansion as it relates to all stars. Like maybe that's, you know, they can do whatever they want. They can change the rules as much as they want. They typically do add an element of something different every year. Last year it was Team USA versus the All Stars. This year it's back to captains. So they typically change the rules every year for whatever suits them. Maybe as we're starting to add teams, they'll kind of test the waters with saying, we'll do a 15 team for All-Star just to kind of see what that would look like. Because to your point, you don't want to limit folks' opportunity to be All-Stars, because expanding the rosters and expanding the teams absolutely means you need to consider how many people have the opportunity to be selected.
Yep.
This also serves as a perfect transition. You really teed it up for us, and it's like, I
I
mean,
do this. I
I
do this.
just you do. You're elite. And I mean, when the recent expansion news dropped maybe a week ago, I don't know, it's all jumbled in my brain at this point, but the WNBA announces teams what number are we even at? Is this 15, 16, 17,
So we're
16,
gonna
17,
17 and 18. Yep.
16, 17, 18, Philadelphia, Cleveland, and of course Detroit. And I could not. I mean, come on now. And immediately we all thought of you, and we're just so excited
Yeah.
about this news. So I just want to give you the platform to just talk about how excited you are. Just take it anywhere, because this is awesome.
I am so excited for this. And it's funny because you two are not the only two. My social media, like all platforms, blew the F up after Detroit was announced. And so that was a great feeling. That means I'm doing a great job of representing my city, that people knew when it
Yep.
came time to a WNBA team that I was going to be happy and excited for it. But I've been a fan of this league quite literally since its inception, right? Like, not trying to tell my age, but telling my age. I remember when the WNBA did not exist. So it feels great to have a team that has the history and the legacy of the Detroit Shock back in Detroit. Like, you know, contrary to popular belief, Detroit is an excellent sports town. There's a lot of people who love, I mean, seriously, we have loved on the Lions for 100 years, and they have never been good until 5
Never
years
love
ago.
you back. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we've never turned our back on the Lions. So if we can hold some form of loyalty to that team, there's no reason that people will not run to Little Caesars Arena to see a team that has a history of having 3 championships in 6 years, a forgotten dynasty that I talk about all the time. We have a culture in Detroit, and every one of our teams embody that culture. And I had the privilege of being able to go to New York for that press conference where those teams were announced. And I had a chance to talk to Arm Tellem, who is one of the major investors in this team. He's also vice chair of the Pistons. And I asked him about that. I was like, hey, like, this is a team, this is a city that embodies our hard work. We all of our teams are based on defense. All of our teams are based on like getting it out the mud, being gritty. Like that's who Detroiters are. And that's what our teams represent. Like, how do you maintain that? And he's like, honestly, it is all about being intentional about the brand of what we want. So do we want to be named the Shock? We don't know yet. Like that's something that we'll figure out, because as much as we want to keep our history, we also want to be able to feel new and feel different. So we'll decide whether or not we want to keep the name. As it relates to the NBA counterpart, they're heavily involved. Cade Cunningham was excited. He made a statement. Malik Beasley, Lord knows, but he was excited. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. So he was excited. Jaden Ivey, like there was just so many people who were excited about having this team back. And then, of course, those of us who remember what it was like to run to the Palace of Auburn Hills, those of us who remember Swing Cash and having Deanna Nolan, who was there and literally was a part of the group to help bring this team back. She was someone who still resides in Michigan. She never left. So she embodies the city. I could not be happier. I love all of them, honestly. Like I love the fact that Philadelphia was selected, Cleveland was selected. So it's not any less of excitement for them to see what I have saw for many years, but it hits different. It is different to see Detroit finally be back in the WNBA atmosphere. And yes, I will absolutely be at the home opener for the Detroit, whatever their name will be. I will be sitting front and center courtside for that moment. Absolutely.
I'm so bad at being critical in general. Like I just avoid conflict in every walk of my life. So I'm with you where I'm like, these are 3 great cities, and like I can't find any fault with any of them. And I know that this is polarizing for some people. Having the NBA ownership groups tied to the teams, but I'm just like, this is shifting the balance of power from the ownership groups that don't have that capital. Not that necessarily don't want to invest, although sometimes that is the case, but that just don't have that capital to keep up. And that has been some of what has hamstrung the WNBA in the last 15 years or so. And we're seeing that balance of power shift towards those deeper pocketed owners, and that could only further the acceleration because the momentum is there, but they need the capital to go with it. The one conversation that I have entertained about it that is not critical towards any of these franchises, but when you look at the physical map after all of these teams settle, there were a lot of people disappointed that nothing ended up back in the South. And I totally understand that. And there are also the next couple of years, it'll feel maybe a little bit imbalanced towards more teams out west than we're used to, but then that's going to bounce back. But like adding Golden State this year and then Portland next year, even Toronto is going to play a couple of games in Vancouver. So they're going to be spread out because that will be Canada's team, which I love in theory that they can bounce around a little bit. But where were you at outside of the vacuum of looking at these 3 teams and being like, all right, Cleveland, Detroit, Philly, all deserve teams. Did you have a moment where you were like, all right, these fans do deserve something in these places that are missing their squads?
Okay. I am going to ruffle feathers with this. I am. And I apologize in advance because it is not personal. I am just trying to look at the business model, right? The business model that I have seen based off of what I've seen from college basketball, what I've seen from former WNBA, and what I see from NBA is that simply, this is going to sound so effed up. I'm so sorry. Basketball doesn't seem to get the same kind of love in the South that like football does, or that like that like football does. Like I used to live in Miami. I lived in Miami for 2.5 years. I spent many a days in going to Miami Heat games. I actually used to work for the little concession thing. I was in college. I was broke. I did whatever I could to get bread. Okay. And so this was around between 2002 and 2004. And the Heat were kind of getting good. Like they were kind of getting good. The arena wouldn't get packed until like after halftime. When the Miami Soul was a team, because they were a team, wasn't that they weren't a good team. They were straight. They were cool. People weren't coming out, not because they weren't good. I don't think it had to do anything with the fact that they were women. It's Miami. Like people are not doing that in Miami. Miami Heat games right now only get love like that because when they're like at the top of their game, like they're fans when they're 100% winning. They're not real fans, guys. Don't let these Heat Nation folks out here fool you. They're not real fans when they're not good. Like it's crazy, right? So all those things that we just talked about with loyalty and sticking behind Miami folks, they out of there. They gonna be on South Beach. Folks are coming to Florida, South Florida for the fun. They're not coming there for sports. Case in point, the Marlins have a beautiful stadium right down in the middle of Little Havana. It is gorgeous. It is a great area. There are great restaurants around it. And when the Marlins were decent, they couldn't pack the place. Mm-hmm. Like it's just like sports is just not like football. However, the Miami Dolphins packed out of this world. Miami Hurricanes can't get a ticket. Like it is what they do. And so I bring all of that up to say that I think when people are evaluating the business model, they're literally taking those things into consideration. And that may be some form of hesitancy as to why it's a little slower or while they're choosing to be a bit slower in selecting southern cities. Now, I do feel like there's a fair argument to be made for two places, Charlotte and Houston. These are two places that formerly had a team. Houston, clearly one of the most successful franchises in the WNBA. They had 4 championships back to back to back to back. They have some of the greatest players to ever lace them up. So I do think that there's an argument to be made for Houston. And I think there's an argument to be made for Charlotte because the Carolinas, while yes, they are South, they have a little different of sports loyalty. I mean, we see the Panthers and what they do there. The Carolina Hurricanes have won championships in the NHL. Like we see South Carolina and the women's basketball dynasty that they're building there and how people support that. They would absolutely drive to Charlotte to support a women's basketball team there. So I do think that those two teams have an argument that can be made as to why they aren't selected. But I do think that people really got to ask, how much do y'all truly and really love basketball in the South? And could that possibly be a reason that there's a bit of hesitancy in bringing teams back there simply because we saw what happened in Miami. We saw what happened in Orlando. The Orlando Miracle is now the Connecticut Sun. Like it's a different fan base for basketball, not sports, because they turning up for football. But basketball is a little different. That's my argument. And I'm sorry to everybody out there who's now about to blow my Twitter up and hate me because I said that. I'm sorry.
We're not going to clip that one for the visualizer. We're going Detroit. I already know. So we're not going to blow up your spot. But it's such a good point. I literally saw on TikTok last night, I'm scrolling and I see people on Love Island talking about Auburn versus Alabama football. I'm like this is ridiculous. Like I do, because as someone that personally, I don't really care about college football. Like I'm an NFL fan, whatever. It really does. It's like, oh, okay. It's just different. So yeah, I feel like that was the perfect.
They are so ingrained in the football culture in Florida that I remember walking up as a freshman. I remember walking up to a group of guys on campus. I used to go to Florida Memorial University and I walked up to a bunch of guys on campus and I was like, damn, what team they talking about? Because you know me, I'm finna hop in. They're talking about high school football. They were talking about high school football like that was the damn. Like it was freaking the Gators. I was like, what are y'all talking about? What is AAA? What do y'all mean? High school football. They do not play about football in SEC country. So I'll let y'all have it for real.
We could talk all day. We basically do talk to you all day, every day anyway, and you have a very busy life. So I just want to close with one final thing. And you just brought them up, so yet another perfect transition. But the Connecticut Sun are in a transition period this year, obviously. Like we had so many longtime Connecticut Sun greats that are now in different places. Brianna Jones having a stellar season in Atlanta. Love that for her. Alyssa Thomas and Phoenix absolutely cooking. Dewana going to Phoenix. I could go on and on. But like if we look at the record, if we look at the net rating, all that, like it's obviously very rough results wise what's happening with the Sun. But again, classic Owen, I'm going to flip it here because like there are things to be excited about. There have been some really fun things. For me, Sanaya Rivers is such an amazing story. She's been through so much and she is just playing so well. And, you know, it's been really beautiful to just see how quickly she's acclimating to this league, given what she's been through in the last few months. Anissa Morrow, like what excites you about some of the players in Connecticut right now? Just some positives for a fan base that like is not able to enjoy the results of these games right now, but there are some really dope people playing basketball in Connecticut.
100% agree with the two that you just named, right? Like, I think we've kind of had this conversation off record, but the 2025 rookie class is deep and dope. It did not get enough love, in my opinion, like did not get enough recognition. There were so many people who were hung up on what 2024 brought to the league that they kind of overlooked 2025, and 2025 is killing it. Sanaya Rivers is someone that is literally doing everything she's being asked to do and then some. She's bringing defensive effort and pressure. She learns and is helping others to learn, because we just had a game a couple of days ago where Layla Lacan, who was the number 10 overall pick for the 2024 draft for Connecticut, she's finally back in the States. And it was only a practice and a half before she had a game. This was Sunday, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
You could see Sanaya trying to, as if Sanaya know what the hell's going on, right? But you can see her trying to, tell her where to go, how to play up, making sure you're here, making sure you're there, just like being the ultimate teammate. And she does so with a lot of energy. She does so with a smile. Like she's just that kind of a person, and she's living her best life on TikTok. So love that. Anissa Morrow, someone else who you can see her drive is a little different. She's also having fun, but she wants to be great. Anissa wants to own and wreck shop. And every single time she steps on the court, that is her mission. She has gotten to the point where the expectation is her to aim for at least a double-double every game. At least every game. She's, and this is what she does. She was telling me the story about how she got her name. She got her name in high school, Niece the Beast, because she was like, everybody thought I was so timid. And then I got on the court and I was like, no, y'all not gonna play me. I'm not timid at all, actually. And I started calling her Niece the Beast in high school. And she's like, I live up to it, like, because I'm gonna beast every time I step on the court. And I love that. And so she's trying to embody that. So I think fans should be excited about this rookie class. And then Rhea Marshall, she doesn't get a lot of play time, but Rhea is the first out there and the last to leave. When the game is over and everyone else is waiting for family and they're in the back doing whatever, Rhea is out there running up and down the court. She's out there shooting free throws. She's out there working on her, whatever it is at that particular time. And she does it after every single home game. I'm sure she does it on the road too, if they don't have to immediately travel, but after every single home game, she's out there. So she wants to be really good. And I guess the last person that I would say that you should be excited about if you're a Connecticut fan is JC Sheldon.
Yep. Yep.
You know what Tina's going to do. You know what Marina is going to do. And I think Olivia Nelson-Ododa is finally coming into her own. But JC Sheldon is just so quiet. And she doesn't bother anybody, but she's so pesky.
She does bother one person.
She technically could bother two, but that's neither here nor there.
I'd say she bothers the right person, but I didn't say it.
She's pesky, and she's such a sponge in the huddles. She's somebody that's literally trying to like get the direction that Marina's giving her. She's asking questions of the coaches. Like she has the trust of Rashid Mezion, which is great. And I love that. And so it's really just about youth. This is a young team. They're inexperienced for real, with the exception of like Marina and Tina. And it's going to take time. It really is. It's going to take time. I don't think they thought that they would be I don't think that they thought their record would reflect this poorly of them, but they're not a bad team. And I get it. Your record is your record is what it is, right? But you could see glimpses of if they could just fix little things. You're not up 12 points on the best team in the league in Minnesota if you're a bad team, but you do lose a lead like that if you are inexperienced, make some very poor decisions late in games and don't really have that person that has that dog mentality to kind of take over and be your closer. Those are the things that Connecticut is missing. But for the most part, I really do think that they could shape up to have a good future with the small core that they have that are rookies this season.
I used to write these league pass rankings before every season, and the idea was like ranking the teams, and it wasn't my original idea, but ranking the teams who are going to be the most fun to watch. Not the best, but the most fun to watch. And every year when I ranked at the time, it was only 12 teams. When I started with number 12, like, the least fun team to watch, in theory, I'd always say, this team is still going to have a ton that's really fun to watch. Like the WNBA is such a deep league that you can be the 13th team out of 13, and there's going to be so much to dive into to enjoy. We were watching the Aces Connecticut game on Sunday after Liberty post game. And I'm watching Layla, and the game's over by this point on the scoreboard. And Layla comes into the game and comes off a flare screen and hits a contested three-pointer, and I'm like, oh, she's going to be good. This is like, she just got here. So it's stuff like that that's like, this team could be really struggling, but there's going to be stuff to dive into that's really fun.
She's going to be so much fun to watch. I told them that I'm going to continue to brush up on my French. I used to speak French very well, but you know how when you don't use it, you lose it? And so I was like, girl, all I got for you is, hi, my name is Terrika. That's all I got for you, girl. I ain't got a nose. So she's so funny. She was funny. She laughed. She's getting comfortable. She's going to be so good, like, honestly. And she's like, hey, I don't think that I'm going to walk in here and be MVP like I was in international play. I know this is a new league, new experience. It's not the same, but I'm just going to do my best. And I think you could see it on Sunday that she's gonna be a little menace out there. I like that.
And one other player before we let you go that I wanted to just shout out because she has been such a light around that organization is Marina Mabry. And you kind of alluded to Sanaya a little bit on social media, but think back to in Unrivaled, where all of a sudden Marina becomes like the TikTok star because of her cooking classes, because of her dance lessons, and then unfortunately gets hurt right after and doesn't get to play much of that season. And then she wants out of Connecticut when everybody else just kind of flees ship. And they tell her, no, you're staying. And for her to kind of maintain this positivity and to be such a great vet to the rookies on the team, but also not to be at all a distraction to the roster, to the franchise, but to instead just be that example setter and to just be so comfortable in herself as a vet. I don't think we should take that for granted.
I agree.
Because a lot of people could be like, I'm just going to clock in, clock out, get paid, take my 20 shots or whatever. And she has not done that at all. And I just love that it's just she's a holistic person. We're seeing every part of her kind of set by example.
Yeah, you're right. Marina and I had a quick chat at the very, very beginning of the season about that very thing, and you guys know me. I'm no different as a reporter than I am as a person. So I just ask you shit straight up. I just be like, hey, why? I know you wanted to get out. Like, what's good? You still trying to leave or what's up? And she basically was like, I had a conversation with Jen. I've been knowing Jen Rosati for many years, and I had a conversation with Jen, and I'm glad that we had that conversation where we were able to iron some things out. And part of that was she made it clear that they wanted to build around me. And I'd never been in a situation where people wanted to build around me. Like at the time, she's like, I've been in this league for 7-8 years now. Ain't nobody ever wanted to, I'm always an afterthought in so many things. So thinking that, hearing that, and knowing that I have to take that upon myself to now be a leader. And that's really what she exudes until she was, injured and unable to play. But to your point, Myles, this is a year where everybody has nothing to lose, if we're being honest. There's a new CBA on the horizon. The new TV media deal makes it very interesting knowing that there's a possibility of a pay raise. This is the year that you want to go out there and ball out so that next year, folks can really understand your value, see how you played, and then give you the money and be in the place that you deserve. And I said that to Marina straight up, like, girl, go out here and ball out so that you can get paid next year and do what you want to do, whether that's stay here in Connecticut or go somewhere else. So I think that you're right. She really does have her heart in the right place. She really does just want to play and stay out the way and make TikToks with Sanaya. So do that.
T, thank you so much. It is always a pleasure to have you on the show. Always a pleasure to talk to you all day. So we're going to be hitting you up after this, I'm sure. I know that there are going to be nonstop camp days all week that people will be locked in on too. So you will see you will see T on your screens, and you will hopefully not see what she gets into at All Star.
Please don't. Oh, please don't.
That's all off the record. As you always say, if there is a drink in my hand, everything's off the record.
Everything's off the record, which means everything at All Star is off the record.
Hey, thanks so much, and I'll see you in Indy next week. And Owen will not.